think I'm spent. If not, I was gonna say, I think I'm about spent. What do you need? What do you need? Let's just talk up front.
Yeah, let's just go for it. So basically, just wanted to sort of just talk generally about the charity, like sort of the origins of it, and just sort of like what drove you and like them sort of bits. Like it just kind of, as we're sort of getting a bit more notoriety as the years go by, and we've been around for quite a while now. It'd be interesting to sort of lay these facts down.
Okay, so it was 2018, and I was seeing across a lot of mental health groups. So and so's gone missing. So and so's gone quiet. Where have they gone? Be it UK veteran support groups, military groups, civilian groups, whatever. People were just fucking killing themselves. And I was like, this is shit. Why? And it wasn't until you look around and actually go, no one talks. I didn't talk. When I went through my PTSD from Afghan, I didn't talk. I drank. I just drank and was a dick. I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. We've got to open the book, open people up. So I thought, I ain't running a marathon or anything too sporty for me. But what I can do is I can geek myself into oblivion. And I know it's not like a broader spectrum as can be. It's not really as encompassing as it could be, but I can't run it. So then I thought, well, if I'm going to geek a lot, what is something I wouldn't like doing, or what can every gamer pretty much relate to? And that's a 5-game tournament. 3 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. The 4th game on Sunday where you're just like, this is just, I don't want to be it. Or the 3rd game on a Saturday when you're on 2 wins and you get your loss and you're just like, this is not where I want to be. But when you combine that, it's a weekend. And the only thing that rhymed with 40k was 40 hours. It's like, that's a lot of hours. But instantly, I didn't want to do it, so I knew I was onto a winner. So 40 hours, 40k was born. This is it. So how am I going to do it? And the only thing I came up with was, how am I going to prove to people that A, I'm not a fraudster, B, it's happening, and like make sure the evidence is there. So I thought, stream it. Yeah. Where am I going to host it? But everything else came to it. But really, I just wanted to make sure that people knew that there's guys, men, women out there that struggle all the time, day in, day out. And people care. They don't even know you, but they care about you. You read an obituary for someone who's killed themselves. You care. So, well, certainly I do. I think I'm naive enough to believe that every suicide is preventable.
Yeah, we recently, didn't we, with one of the members who kind of joined us for a little while, actually did that, and it kind of hits you really hard, like, as a faint acquaintance at best, maybe. But
yeah, even in the painting team, we've had a couple of family members of them kill themselves. It's fucking gutting. And that's where it hits home how common it is. Thousands a year. I don't want to misquote the statistics. 90 a day, 1,000 a week, or something ridiculous like that.
I think it's the biggest killer of men under 50, isn't it? Suicide. If I'm not
because the ONS released the figures. It wasn't until recently that it was properly charted. Some of them were done down to accidental death, but really it was suicide. Oh, sorry, mate. 2 seconds. Suicide rates UK. Because I don't want to misquote the figures.
No, it's fine.
So in 2022, it's the last one. 15 suicides a day. So that's 5,662. That's only registered in England and Wales, not including Ireland and Scotland. So 5,500 people.
Higher by the time you've included all of them, then.
Yeah.
I mean, what we were talking about like previously before is like the fact that men just do not talk and are not open with their feelings. And obviously, previously, like in previous years, that would just be the common thing. You'd just be like, "How you doing? Yeah, fine, all good." And I don't know if you've ever seen, Norwich City did a really good video on suicide, and there's 2 guys sitting in the same seats, and this guy just really looks miserable, and the other guy's like, it's all fine, with this fight and everything. And at the end of the day, the one that committed suicide was the guy that was cheery and everything. And like, if you've never watched it, go watch it. But like the first time you watch it, like it really hits you. You're like, geez, like that so powerful.
And if you talk about the charity, because we're only an event, we just support Calm, because Campaign Against Living Misery does some freaking incredible work. They really do. They had an exhibition on the South Bank, which was the last photo of people that had committed suicide, all smiling.
Yeah.
Because they figured out what they've got to do to make it all go away.
Yeah.
I could never understand it, but I want to help. I want to create an environment or create a world that makes it okay to, when you go, I'm pissed off, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm at my lowest ebb, and I don't know what the fuck to do. I want to be able, so people can talk about it and know that they're not alone. So really, that's why I started the event. Stop fucking killing yourself.
Yeah.
There's so many people that care about you.
Yeah.
There really, really is. Even people that you've never met. I know Gonders, for example, he had his struggles with IVF, and then he worked for somebody who's also had their struggles, and then you've got that environment where you know you're on common ground. Really, you don't have to just go, suck it up, drink it, have a fight, get out of your system. It's not productive, it's not constructive. You need to talk about it. And if you can make that simple saying, "You're right, mate, how's it going?" Actually, say it like you mean it.
Yeah.
So somebody who's going to turn around to you and go, "Actually, I don't know."
I think the normalisation of not being okay is fine. Like, if you're not okay, it's fine. Like, it's nothing against you, you've not done anything wrong, it doesn't make you any less of a man, none of that. It's okay and it's fine. And the more that we talk about it, the better, really, because, you know, as we said before, so many groups of people are previously, you just would not want to say anything because you don't want to be that one. Like oh, he's got a bit of that depression. It's like, it's such a horrible way to deal with it. Like, you know, if you generally are feeling like that, then it's really bad. We've just gone on holiday, and obviously my daughter made friends with a little boy, and his father was so crippled with anxiety and depression, the whole holiday just spent in the tent they were staying in rather than actually coming out. And you think that's a holiday, and you're not even feeling that good. So it's like, if people are feeling like that, it's just normalising that's fine, that we are here for you, and, you know, we are open to helping and talking, you know, whatever you do.
We're not promising to fix what's wrong.
No.
But everyone else has got stuff wrong.
Yeah.
That's not diminishing your load. That is saying, it's okay, mate. We're all the same. You're not any less of a human being just because you're sad. You don't want to do things. You don't have any energy. You don't want to socialise, even with your family, your kids, or your work. You don't want to get up in the morning. That's okay. That's normal. That's the ebb and flow of life.
Adult life. It's just not. It's not easy. It's really not easy.
No, it's not. But you can also share that burden of it not being easy by offloading. And I don't believe a problem shared is a problem halved. But having another set of having another brain thinking about what you're going through makes you not alone anymore.
It does.
And I know what it's like to be surrounded by people and feel alone. Yeah. It is a known thing. You just feel alone. You got so many people trying to talk to you, but it's a really conflicting, hard thing to discuss. When people are asking if you're okay, you don't know what to say or how to get out of it.
Yeah, and a lot of times, a lot of people feel like if they admit it, it will make it worse, rather than if they keep strong, they'll be fine. If I'm strong, I'll be fine. But obviously the point is, the stronger you keep it, you just wear yourself down, and eventually gets to where it is far too much. You just can't.
If you keep wearing shoes that give you a blister, eventually you'll get infected. Take your shoes off, give your feet a rest. That's dead easy. You can also take a load off your brain and give your brain a rest. Be it meditation, I find meditation and mindfulness really, really good to focus you in. People have hobbies, painting, motorbikes, drinking, whatever gets you through and focuses you. Do it, as long as it's not ultimately detrimental to you.
Exactly.
But talking is the one thing I'd always recommend.
Yeah.
Not necessarily talking to yourself, because your own inner monologue can be your own worst nightmare, because if you have an idea, your brain will naturally prove it to you.
Yeah.
Somebody's following me up the stairs in the dark. Definitely. Panic. I'm not okay. No, you're not, because of all these things that are going wrong. No one cares. Yeah, look, no one talks to me. It will always give you that.
Yeah.
That confirmation. But you can also find the confirmation that people do care and talk to people, open up and realise that we're all the same. I had some serious mental health issues, and the only way I got over it was talking. and I believe it's
before. We've had big hugs.
yeah. Hugs make the world go round, mate.
Yeah. Just
they really do.
Yeah. It's like, you know, we all go through this, and this is now what, 6th year, isn't it? 6th year of doing. 6 years, 5 years for me, 6 for you, and I mean,
it's over £40,000 raised for Calm, mate. But that's got to go, and we've done some amazing armies. It wouldn't be here without the painters, and I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
You know, Bobby did some incredible stuff at Red Eagle Studios, just incredible amounts of effort. But he was strong enough to go, mate, I can't do it anymore. I can't. And I've got to take my hat off to him, because we wouldn't be in the position we are without him. We really wouldn't. It's an incredibly lovely bloke. And the what you took on to manage the painters and what they give, their own time, their own skills. Jesus, time is the most precious thing we have in this world. It's finite. And they're giving that to this event. That's just incredible people. They really are.
It's really interesting because we have
painters.
We have people join us for a number of reasons, like because they're either affected themselves, they know people are affected, they just want to help. That's another one. People just want to help. They're just overjoyed to help, and you know, it's really interesting as to the reasons why I do it. And I mean, we've got so many different people that've got so many different reasons why this makes different, and it's all. That's the point. It's all valid. It's all valid. It all goes into it. We're helping. I think last year we helped 800 crisis calls, didn't we, for car? Yeah. What we said, which, like, when you think about that, if that's 800 people that we've helped save, is unbelievable. It's like such a, you know, to be able to know where that money is going and what it does. It's like a fantastic side of it, and it kind of feels like it's growing. We're growing. People are recognizing us now. It's not before. It's like, before you go, what's that? And it's like, yeah, you know, people are familiar with us and different bits and that, which is really cool because people just associate that with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the hilarity I find about the wargaming community is you can say, oh, we're doing this 40K thing, we're raising money for campaign against miserably, suicide prevention, positive mental health, right? Yeah, when is it? Oh, it's September, cool. And they're gone. It's just like panic and necessity drive the wargaming community to paint an army. What are you doing? I've got a tournament tomorrow, I've got to paint 30 guys. Oh, fucking hell. And it's the same with the event. When is it? 2 weeks' time. See you in 13 days.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of wargaming. But it can, certainly for me, with the social media side, you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall. Or you feel like you're over-egging the sales pitch. But you're not, because if you don't post up every week, or at least twice a week, you fall off the radar and no one cares. Or someone goes, I wish I'd heard about this sooner. Always get 2 or 3 messages. Hit me up for next year.
Yeah, that's always the problem, and we got quite a flurry because a load of the team were actually like posting stuff, putting it out there, so it gets the message out there. And obviously the problem is like, obviously depending on the followers, so obviously your followers and my followers, they just see the same stuff, they see our stuff, but that's it. But you know, other people have got followers we might not have. They might have other people that interact with them differently, so suddenly it opens up to all new people that are like, this is one of the times we actually have to thank the OnlyFans people. Yes.
Genuinely, because without them, we would not have collaborative posts.
Yes. Yeah.
But we now have collaborative posts. So your 10,000 followers, the 2,000 followers from here, the 6,000 followers from somebody else. Yeah. Well, that's a quick maths, 28,000 followers that are going to go see the post potentially. I know there's some overlap between it, but without that, you don't get the footprint, you know, hashtags and things like that, you know.
Yeah, it's been quite handy, just like working that out. Shame you can only do 5 because there is quite a lot of us. So it's like just collaborate amongst yourselves, guys. It'll be fine. So obviously World Eaters this year. So we've got a massive, great big World Eaters. We've got a few raffle prizes and quite a lot going on in the event this year. We're going to have quite a bit on the streams. It's all starting to come together quite nicely.
It all does. It just feels like you got all these spinning plates. But as time goes on, the plates end up spinning themselves. Yeah. So like the stream is complete and unknown until a couple of weeks before. The painting takes 11 months to get together for sourcing the models, getting them out to the painters build and paint during their busy schedules they've got, then they all come together. So the army then comes in. As it gets close to the time, the tickets start selling for the army, and then various companies posting for the raffle prizes, so then that gets the footprint out and the word out even more. It's definitely one of those curves. It's not like a linear, it's one of those
Yeah, it always feels like chaos, and you always feel like you've got enough time, but it always comes together in the last couple of months. Like August is always the time everyone's stuff starts turning up. Like it's very rare someone gets in before that. I think only Johnny got them in months ago because like he was like, "Oh, let's get them done." It's like perfect, and it's always the case. And usually, and that is me as well. Like it's not moaning at anyone else because I'm always one of the last to finish. That's just how I operate, and I know I will. And I'm still.
Was it last year? Like, do you know what? I can't get the demon prince done. I'll do it at 40 hours event. And you're like, fuck. Why did I do this to myself?
I mean, last year was especially bad because not only did I have Mortarium, which was like earmarked anyway, then I ended up with a Plagueburst Crawler, which was fine because this tank was like, right, I can do that. And then 2 weeks before the event, I had to do the guy with the tank on his back, and luckily I had the model, so like I had to do that. And then like the demon prince, it's just like I was like, I just ain't got the time. I was like, we'll do it at the event. But then, of course, I had to finish at the event. So, like, I'm like sat there, like, trying to do it. And whereas this year, I've got to get Standy back so he can finish off these jackals with me. But other than that, it's kind of like Angron is pretty much halfway done. So, a couple more nights and we'll get there. But it's always chaos in the background. But at the end of the day, it comes together. And we've got most of the army will be in there. You know, last year, the Possessed weren't here in time, and there was a couple others where people just couldn't get them in on time. So the army shop was together, and the only time the army was actually together was when it was posted. Eventually, that was it. But you know, these things happen, and you know, trying to combat 30 people in, I mean, I don't even know what the points list is because last year was pointless because they did 10th edition just around the time we were getting everything ready. There was no point, and this year, by the time we put the points list together and say, you've got a 2,500 point army, they change all the points and it goes up or down. So it's like, it's pointless. Here's what you're going to get. And, you know, you work the points out in that.
Because points are a good thing because it's like a quantitative thing, isn't it? People can go, I know what 2,000 points is. I know what 2,500 points is. It's very difficult with Games Workshop prices and also Frontline Gaming Store prices to go, I can give you 600 quid worth of GW stuff. Well, 600 quid worth of GW stuff or 600 quid worth of 15% discount.
Yeah.
What is it?
In that regard. Yeah, it's very... Getting the army together, once the army is together, and Sandy's done it this year and it's been an absolute diamond to do it.
Yeah.
Once you've got all the models, it's like, because we usually have a lot of people that want to paint. There's usually a lot of people that will join. Like we turned down quite a few this year because so many people are like, yeah, we'll do it. And it's like, okay. So getting them painted isn't too bad. There was a couple of people I really wanted. I asked them, I was like, please, I really want you to. They said yes, so that was awesome. A couple of us returning. There's always a few of us that return from it. Some people drop out because life gets too busy, or they just, you know, it wears.
I think that's a wicked thing about that painting group, and I do get sad when I'm like, oh, they've left, what have we done wrong? But when I look at it, they go, I certainly go, they've got the freedom to go, sorry mate, I'm done, I've got too many things to do. And you see the reason I started it, so people can talk, and people are talking. I'm just
people come back. People come back as well. Like, you know, I think we had a couple that were just I just probably won't have the time. So yeah, that's fine. Like, we're not here to stress people out. That's the point. Try and make it as chilled as possible. Let's get it as chilled as possible. We will do it, and we will find a way. And you know, some people, you know, we've got a couple of people that have got real mental health problems. Life has really given them a kick in. They get it done. You know, I'll get a text in January going, I don't know if I'm going to get this done. It's like, okay, well, let's just, you know, let's see where we are in March, and then we'll see in June, and then by July they're like, yeah, I've done it. So you're a hero. It's like, you've done it. We get there. Once you've got that, it feels all fine. And then on the weekend, it's lovely. And I mean, this year it's going to be chaos, because not only is there us guys like doing it, we've got the Live and Let's Dice guys coming as well.
Yeah.
They're sort of mayhem and different bits, and we should have some for the team. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and then we've got obviously the Imps gaming community, the local community around Lincoln. Going there, they just rock up and I'm doing paint for 40 hours.
Yeah,
it's a great thing for them because it brings them all together. That people like Warhammer does for tournaments. I'm surrounded by people. I'm not alone.
No. Yeah.
We've all got something in common, and you can just wander around, and it's great. Certainly when I'm playing in like the freaking 29th hour or something like that, I stumble through and I see these people painting and going, yeah, I'd rather be sort of playing than painting for 40 hours. Yeah, I might do that one year. I might paint. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. I 1 year, not this year, but I might try it for 1 year. I don't know what I'll do. I might have to maybe pick something really big and just go with that. But even
Bane blade would be good. But then
also,
again, I think you go rivet blind with the Bane blade, wouldn't you?
I hate tanks. I hate painting tanks. I don't know why, because like when I
Really,
paint,
I love them. The pre-shading is so easy, and then the paint goes on dead easy, and then you can just.
I've always been a very character-driven person. I love the characters.
Yeah.
I don't like the people side of it, the monsters. I don't mind the tanks, they look cool. I like the Kratos, it looks really cool. People tell me it looks really cool, but it didn't wow me. If someone said, "Oh, do you want to sit down and paint a Bane blade?" I'd be like, not particularly. It doesn't tickle my pickle. Let's put it that way. But something big like the Sons of Behemoth would be the one, or Archeon, something like that. Something massive would be.
Oh yeah, that's the one. I think it's the biggest Games Workshop model still, isn't it? That.
Yeah, I think he still is. Yeah, I've got him somewhere. I just haven't. I haven't got time to do him at the way because.
Well, next year, 2025. Jesus Christ, we're getting old. 2025, mate. You'll have time to do it.
No. Or what we could do is, if we are going to do knights, we should just get one of the big guys. It's like we'll get one of the real big ones. We'll do that for a weekend.
Yeah. I think in the group chat, Craig said his family's buying what's the character one called? Character night. So we're already starting to source next year's army. It's called. Hold on a second. Rex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Comes with a little dude, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah. Canis Rex. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought one years ago because I found one really cheap. Someone said it, so I paid 60 quid for it. And I was like, I'll just pay one because I do quite like them, and I never got around to building it. And now I've got a Sons of Horus army. You can just use the model for 30k. So I was like, okay, I'll just whack it in that as it goes. Even I'm playing a game this year, but with Primarchs. So because that interests me. So we're
Primarchs versus Dreadnoughts. That'd be freaking ace. We'll get it on the stream and get a time up so people can see.
Primarchs versus Dreadnoughts versus Demons. We've got some Demons to go in it now as well.
Sweet.
Surprisingly, not a lot of Dreadnoughts actually. I think there's only about 8, which is quite surprising considering the points limit. There isn't a lot. There really isn't like a lot of them. So I think it's the Leviathan Dreadnoughts are now. So which is surprising. So yeah, I've got Magnus though. I'm just going to wipe them off the table. So what's the point? They won't even get close to him. Just see you later, mate. You don't look.
I'll comment on that, mate. When you're playing that game, I'll do the commentary, and all I do is saying, "Oh, the Primarch's giving it the big one." But in the book, they always get taken completely by surprise and get their ass kicked, don't they?
We said this. It's like Space Marines. In any media, they absolutely kick ass. Like, look at Space Marine the game. Look how much they kick ass on the table. Where it's like they just don't do it. It'd be cool. Like, it's going to be interesting just having everyone there, a few people on the streams and different men. I love the fact that we've grown to the point where we can do this and have like this great, ability to get people together and get them talking. That's what I love about it, and I'm glad to have been doing this for 5 years and many more, hopefully.
Many more. Tie yourself in now, mate. Many more means 10 to 15.
I'll keep going.
Awesome sauce, mate. Awesome sauce. I'm gonna have to go to bed, mate. I'm at work tomorrow.
I'm about to say, I've been doing this now since 7:30, and it's now like 10 o'clock. So I think I'm about done for it. But yeah, it's nice just to have you, just so we can sort of like get this one out and kind of just let people know. We'll have to get everyone together because obviously, unless you watch the stream, you're not really familiar. Obviously, painting wise, people will be familiar with Bobby, and then they'll be familiar with me, kind of sort of doing it and yourself. But yeah, it's just nice that people can see, we are actual people. This is what we do. This is why we do it, and different bits. So
I think for the stream, what I'm going to make up is obviously we'll have the gaming table, the face of us talking. There'll also be a box for example, it's fucking tired now. Heather painted this, so you have a photo of Heather, all of social media handles, and then the model she painted, and it can just slowly flick through to the next person. Did this, Matt did this, and I think
hopefully we'll have a video of everyone sort of just talking a little bit, so we can just put them out there so people do, because it's the least we can do. They put their time into it. Show you off, unless they don't want to.
Definitely. If we've got all these followers, just what's the old thing? Sell.
Exactly. Like, even if you're not in it because you're not doing it, like, Johnny wanted it because he does his commission, so he thought, even if you don't do commissions, you just want a couple more followers, that that would be nice. So if that's the least you do for people, then let's go for it. So awesome. Right, well, thank you for waffling with the last 2 hours. It's been lovely.
Thanks for hosting.
We'll be doing this again, I'm sure. Like, I think the weekend's probably another one, so we'll be back at it. So
yeah, damn right, mate.
Awesome. Right,
it'd be good to get it onto Twitch. See if we can sort it out on Twitch.
Yeah, I might have to sort of send you the files, but this is like pre-production stuff we can do after. So.
Yeah. Gosh, he shut up finally. Jesus Christ. Recording in... Yeah, cool. Sorry, Glenn, when we first started, mate, you said that your wife and daughter?
Child, one boy.
One boy, your wife and child were away on holiday and you were here, and you found it difficult, everything being so quiet. Now, I know you have commented and saying this is your sanctuary, this is your space to get focus, but how has it affected you being alone, knowing that you're not actually alone, but you are alone?
The answer to this is about health, but not particularly mental health, or it's mental health adjacent, to go with that. So, as I mentioned, we've got one kid. He's an IVF baby. He's coming up to 6 years old, so he's just finished reception class, going to year 1. But me and my wife, and she will not mind me talking about this at all, because she's a big advocate for getting this out there. She does we both struggled with infertility, obviously having an IVF baby, and the story has gone on for a long time. When my lad finally did arrive, because of the struggle that we've been through, he became basically the most precious thing in the world. You can't understate it. He's not my entire world, but he's 93% of it. It's massive. And the reason that I said that earlier, kind of a throwaway comment, but equally seriously, this is the longest I've ever spent without him since he's been alive. So, and he's like 5. I said 6 in November. So yeah, it's been from the Tuesday to the Saturday it will have been, and indeed in the same period of time, the longest I've been away from my wife. So I still have my job is office based. I don't work from home. I drive to an office 20 minutes in the other direction. So when I was talking about pillars of your life, sort of your lifestyle, one of those for me is getting up, getting out, and getting to the office in the morning. So I've still had that to keep me on a kind of even keel, and I've still had this to keep me on an even keel. But it does just go to show, of those 2 or 3 pillars that are almost my lifestyle, almost my existence, it doesn't take much for one of them to have a little shake, and suddenly you do start thinking. And that's not something that happens to me at all. Like I said earlier, like my mental health is generally quite robust, and the reason I think it is because of those pillars. But it does go to show, if something slips, it doesn't take a lot. But yeah, that's where that came from. That got deeper than I thought it was going to.
Do you feel like, and tell me to shut up whenever you want, mate, but I love a good heart. Do you feel like that's because it's a constant, and any change in that constant is unwelcome? Because I've spoken to a couple of blokes, and they're like, they remember this time when like their partner and their kids went away for a couple of days, and they could like sit on a sofa and have a kebab without anyone, like the noise and the carnage. And that's different for you.
Yeah, I think it is, and like you said, some of it is probably tied to the fact that, like I said, he was an IVF kid, and we never thought we were going to have kids, and so he's still an absolute blessing every day. Like I always say that. I mean, I don't know how many of you are parents, but I always say that when you have kids, doesn't like so many men in particular. Like I also work in a male-dominated industry, and you hear this so many times at work of people saying, "Oh, if you ever have a pregnancy announcement, oh, that's the end of your life, mate." That very typical, horrible, whatever you want to call it. And I've never agreed with that. I've never ever agreed with that. I've always said that having kids makes the highs higher and the lows lower. So you lose all the sleep at the start, and you think it's the end of everything, and you think you made I never thought I made a massive mistake, but it was difficult. But then you have these moments like teaching them to do this, that, or the other, or they bring this moment of joy. It just makes your graph go like that. It's up and down. It's up and down. So maybe, like you said, suddenly having that up and down removed, suddenly I'm just sort of cruising through this week again, and I'm like, well, this isn't normal. And like you said, I am very, as you can tell, I'm very much a creature of habit. I get up, I go to work, I do 5 days. Of those 5 days, 4 of them will be me sat here. I am a creature of habit, so maybe there's something in that. Like you said, the habit has been shaken just for a week, and you can tell.
Yeah, it's so just when it comes to because the IVF, because obviously not a lot of people will know about that or how it goes. What was that like? Because you said you weren't sure you would ever have a child. So how did that make you feel? Because that must have been really difficult. Because I assume you both really wanted one, and obviously from what I've heard, the longer it goes on, the more difficult it becomes. So run us through that.
So this is definitely something I can ramble about if you really want me to. But we have had a clue that we were going to struggle with it right back at the start. So this is like an 8-9 year story now. I'm not going to go through it all day by day, but right back at the start, we sort of had a clue because there was underlying health issues, not mental health, just underlying health issues that we thought might cause problems with infertility. And it turned out it did. Okay. But then you go down a route of trying naturally, and then you go down the route of getting the first consultancy sort of appointments, and so many people you hear of say, "Oh, I've got kids that I had via IVF," and if you don't know about it, they make it sound like, and not on purpose, but it makes it sound like, well, we couldn't have kids, so then we went to the baby shop and got a baby, and we went to the hospital and got a baby, and everything was easy. It's the polar opposite. It is a struggle, and the phrase that people use is a journey. It's not a word I particularly like to use to describe it, because I think that makes it sound nicer than it is. But you have 12 to 18 months, maybe longer, of them trying to figure out what the issue is before you even get anywhere near IVF. And for probably 12 of those 12 to 18 months, they are feeding you various cocktails of drugs and various different stimulants and various different hormones and various different supplements to try and sort the problem out that way. And when people start playing with your levels of chemicals in your brain and your body, everything becomes more difficult, right? Mood swings happen, things become more extreme. There's obviously there's a societal pressure, but I'm not even going to go into that right now. So there's 12 to 18 months of that before you even get to a potential IVF sort of solution. Then each round of IVF, how do you describe it? I don't know if you guys know this. You may know.
Before you go into that bit, I know you said you wanted to skip past it, but I think what you were just about to say is quite important, because is this the case of not being a man kind of thing? Because if it's that social, you know what I mean, where people think that if you can't have a baby, it's that over masculinity that we've seen quite a rise of. So if it's something like that, could we just draw that? Because I think a lot of people, especially men, don't want to talk about stuff, and I think it's really important, that side of it, to be look, just because you can't have kids does not mean you're any less than anyone else, kind of thing. So I mean, do you see what I mean, where I'm going?
Yeah. For me, that was never an issue. Unsurprisingly, like a lot of people that paint Space Marines, I am not an alpha male. I'm not that personality where I have to prove how much I'm doing things right and how much I'm leading the charge and all that sort of stuff. Our household has never run like that. You go back in time to the sort of 50s, 60s, and the male who used to go out and be the breadwinner, and he was the alpha male, and the wife stayed in their home and all that. That's not how our house works. Never has done. And we've always faced it together. We've never ever blamed one or the other. We've never felt like one of us in particular has failed at it, and that's a big thing. And I think some couples, it can push, it can create cracks in the relationship because people do start blaming each other and all that sort of stuff. It's never happened with us. If anything, it's just brought us closer together as a couple, which is great. But like you said, it's been difficult.
Yeah.
I'm sure that some men do struggle with that side of it, and as we know, men are not good at talking about feelings, so it's probably the case that a lot of that is shut away for some people. It's funny actually, because I've just started a new job not 3 weeks ago, and I was talking to one of the guys one of my new colleagues, and he mentioned that just in passing that he had a kid through IVF, and I went, oh, I've got one of them. And suddenly he just hit me with this barrage of clearly things that he'd kept behind closed doors that he all of a sudden knew I would understand. Like when you're on the bus and you hear someone talk about Rebooty Gilliman and you go, holy, I know what that is. I can unload on you now. You know, like it not like that. Maybe that's the problem in the first place. No.
Wrong, innuendo button again.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy just hit me with a torrent of IVF journey related like stories and things, and clearly he'd never been able to talk about it in work before because I work in an annoyingly male dominated industry, and all that sort of stuff is shut away. I'm sure that some people that does happen. For me personally, that was never really an issue. But yeah, like I said, the actual process of it is long and difficult, and the big one is it plays with hormone levels, and basically it's still a science. I'll not ramble about this forever, but it's still a science, and it is not a medical procedure that they can apply to every patient and they know it will work. You know, like if you're going to reset a bone or whatever, they're like, hey, we know how to reset a bone. This is how science has told us this for the last 300 years. This is how you do it. IVF is still so new. It was only conceived in the 70s, 80s. It's still so new that they're experimenting. They still don't know the cause of a lot of it. They're still trying all sorts of different things. So treatment is not just you go in and they do the thing and it works. It's an experiment on your body or on your bodies, and each round of it, each attempt takes about, depending on how fast you want to do it, between 6 and 8 months. And we were lucky enough that we were lucky, and I mean lucky that our lad came from the very, very first round of IVF that we had. He was the first embryo that we had reimplanted, and it worked first time. It was incredible. But then we also, since then, have also tried for a second through the same way, and we've had 6 years of failure, going at it 6 to 8 months at a time. Now, each time you do that round, your hormones in both partners' brains, once you have that embryo implanted, it's like having a positive pregnancy test. Your brain engages and says, you're going to be a parent. You're going to be a parent. So your body starts ramping, your brain starts ramping up that you're going to have that you're going to have the next kid, or you're going to have that kid. But then a lot of the time it ends prematurely, and I don't mean like in a miscarriage, although it can do. But a lot of time it ends within the first 6 weeks of what would have been a pregnancy, and then you find out that it ends. You found out that it ends within 6 to 8 weeks, and all those hormones that have been gearing up in your brain crash right out of your system again. And that up and down is not something that human bodies are supposed to deal with repeatedly for 6 or 8 years. Like nature doesn't tend to do that. If you look back, so I've spoken to my parents about it, and it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, because if you look back, I'm approaching the big 4-0, right? And look back to when I was born in the 80s, and I talked to my parents about it, and the science wasn't there at all. And if you were trying for a baby, then the woman might miss a period, and some women miss the odd period. So in the 80s, they would go, "Oh, I've missed a period. Okay, well, if I miss another one, I'll get a pregnancy test." So then they'd get a pregnancy test 10 weeks into a pregnancy, and then they'd go, "Oh, I'm pregnant." At which point, you're 10 weeks in. If you do it through IVF, you know if you've passed the first hurdle at 2 weeks. So if you were doing this, sorry, this has gone way off the subject of mental health.
Keep going,
and
mate.
soldiers.
Keep going. I'm listening.
Keep going, it's interesting.
But if you go through a round of IVF, you do a pregnancy test 2 weeks after the embryo transfer, so you know that you are potentially going to be a parent only 2 weeks after if you were doing it naturally, sperm meets egg, right? So you know now in 2024, you now know a whole lot earlier that you are potentially going to be a parent. In 1985, when I was born, that would have been 10 weeks, and in those 10 weeks, or in the 8-week difference, that embryo could well have failed. In 1984, that could well have failed in the first 10 weeks, and nobody would have known, and no one's brain would have hit those hormones and started kicking those chemicals into you're going to become a parent, because you would only know at 2 to 3 months. Does this make sense? Whereas now you know at 2 weeks, or potentially know at 2 weeks. So those chemicals are so much more your brain is so much more stimulated for longer about that subject, and then it crashes out. So the mental health issues around IVF are something that nobody ever talks about because nobody likes to talk about it, but they are mega. Really, they're absolutely mega. And like we never had the second kid, and not to get too far into it, but basically we took the decision that we were going to stop trying it because it was battering us. It was battering both mine and my wife's mental health. It's been a long time. It's been well, all told, it will have been nearly 9 years of this happening to us. That's a difficult thing to deal with, right? When I know the answer to it, I'll tell you, but I don't right now. So yeah, that's that story.
Crazy, really.
I can have you going, mate. That massive expectation you put on yourself and your partner, and you put on yourselves, and in an unspoken way, the medical professionals do it as well. So we've done this should work, and then we'll try this, and then we'll try this. Well, 6 to 8 months of doing that, it's cumulatively must be fucking draining.
The medical professionals are very open about it, and they're very honest about it, and they do not directly press you. They do everything to not directly press you because they understand that the higher your stress levels, the more chance of it failing. So they do everything to not do that. The problem comes, and this is where if you have any people who have just got married, and or if you have any women who have just got married, will absolutely tell you the problem doesn't come from medical professionals. The problem comes from society as a whole. Like, this is where the ramble really starts. If I don't contain it, but the societal pressure of you've got married, when are you going to have kids then? And it comes from your family, it comes from your colleagues, it comes from your friends, and not all of it is direct. Some of it is just that you see a pregnant person in the street, and some of it is just if you want to have kids, and hey, nobody's forced anybody to, but if you want to have kids and that pressure starts ticking up, then it does get to the point. There's a phenomenon, somebody might tell me the name of it, where if you drive a certain colour and make of car, you start to see those cars on the road. So if you drive
confirmation bias.
Is that all it's called? I thought it had.
So there seems to be loads of green Rovers around. I'm terrible fucking age now, but there's loads of green Rovers around. Green. I've not seen a brown car in ages. Brown.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Confirmation bias. It might not be that, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, whatever that. Yeah, it may well be that.
Expectation bias, maybe.
Possibly. But that starts happening with newborn babies and with other pregnant people and with even toddlers and all the rest of it, and all of a sudden you start walking around and you're like, baby, and then you start being like successful, and then you start being like failure, success.
Yeah, it is really easy to do that, but like you said, you don't talk about your IVF. You have to today, and I really appreciate you sharing. Like the bloke you work with never shared it, and then unloaded.
Yeah.
You don't know how many of those are IVF kids.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Then you don't know.
Yeah. Like I said, I make a point of it. Like my wife's in the civil service, and she now runs a weekly. I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically she has a Zoom call throughout, which is available throughout the whole of the civil service to talk about it. She heads that up. She has like 120 odd people on a Zoom call nowadays, who are all there to talk about it. But I think that she's like less than 5 of them are men, and the rest
Is that
of
the
them are women.
parental support network? They do something very similar in the armed
It'll be
forces.
something like that. Yeah. But yeah. My wife now runs it, or runs the IVF side of that, as well as doing a day job. So yeah, I am happy to talk to anybody about it, but also I'm aware that not everybody wants to hear that ramble and have that.
It's quite interesting for anyone that isn't familiar with it, or because you just hear IVF and like you said, you just kind of assume they either works or it doesn't work. You don't hear that. And I mean, like for my second born, I mean, I think it took 3 months, and I mean every month they didn't was like, oh, I've got to wait again. So for you, having like 6 to 9 years of it and 6 to 8 months, I mean, like, fair play. That's pretty brutal when you talk about it, what you're saying to it. I should imagine now you're out of it kind of, and you've been through it, but I should imagine going through it is quite tough.
It is. I mean, the other thing is as well, and I can't speak for this, but it's much more involved from the woman's side of it. A lot of the treatments and a lot of the preparation, because there's a lot of there's courses of various, like you said, drugs and various bits and bobs that prepare her body for what's going to happen, and a lot of those are self-administered injections as well. So you're talking like 2 or 3 times a day she'll be there injecting herself with something like in the run to it, and that in itself is just pretty horrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an easy thing to deal with, and that's before the effect of whatever's actually happening. So yeah, like you said, I think from my experience, it's certainly much tougher on the woman than the man. And I'm not saying that I found it easy, I didn't at all. But yeah, it's something that more people should talk about, because it's also surprisingly common. Like, people who play with Space Marines, people hide they hide under the cover of sort of, I don't know, they just sort of shut it away, don't they?
I have to say, I think the tide is turning. Like, it seems to be that men speaking out is much more acceptable. Like, from my point of view, being involved in football teams from very early on to nowadays, the last couple of years before I got injured, the difference in people's ability to say, do you know, nah, actually it's been a bit rubbish, I'm not really feeling it, or life's been a bit terrible. Whereas 10 years ago you wouldn't have, because you'd have just been picked on. You would have it would have been that very much of, just cheer up, etc. There is a noticeable change.
Cheer up. You had some kind people around you, but fucking suck it up, dickhead.
Yeah, as if you had
exactly.
thought of that. Do you know what I mean? It's always the same, innit, with anyone. It's like, I'll lose weight. It's like, as if like people haven't thought of that when.
It's
do you know what I
that,
mean?
mate.
Yeah,
Like,
just lose weight, or just be happy. Oh, fucking hell. Cheers, dickhead. I didn't think of that, did I?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Like, luckily noticeable, and even friends, I've noticed friends will be, times have been a bit shit and different bits. So I'm hoping that means more men will just actually say when, things aren't okay,
It's a really, really interesting thing is when we first started the stream, before we started recording, we all asked, how you doing? You're right. How you doing? You're right. Yeah, I'm good. Actually, you can say, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's been a week, man.
No, this is not something. No, I can go into if you want, but bearing in mind, my mood is dipped. I'm not happy for whatever reason, and you can then give the space to go. We can talk about it if you want, mate. I have the capacity. But listen, let's go for it. Let's have a chat, because you may find that will lead into something else. And like the guy that you work with, IVF kid. Fucking hell, me too.
Yeah.
Straight in there, and you have a shared experience.
Yeah, I always like the Norwegians have a little phrase for when you're just sort of okay. They say I'm awake, but I'm not crying, which I quite like. It's quite
awake, but I'm not crying.
Yeah. So I quite like that. But so obviously, just talk to us about like sort of hobby-wise. We kind of briefly touched.
Yeah, let's bring it back to non-IVF times, shall we?
Honestly, it's been really interesting. But tell us more about sort of like how you got into it, like what propels you. That sort of.
I can remember the day.
Oh, here we go.
Um,
We're going to the third edition again. Oh, it's like last time, isn't it?
Oh no, it's, no, it's
We
further
did-
back than
we-
that, mate. I'm afraid.
We did say about it's going to descend, didn't we?
It's not going to descend, I promise you. So, I started pretty young, even as old people go. I'm now of the old generation. Obviously, so I'm approaching the big 4-0 next year. I started in year 5. So what year in year 5? Year 5, you'd be 9, somewhere around there, 9 or 10.
9-10, yeah.
And the very day, it was a classic bring some games to school day, and one of my then, well, I wouldn't have said best friends, but mates, brought in something, and I can remember exactly, you know, whenever you have a childhood memory, brought in something, and I remember going into this classroom, and there was a bunch of people crowded around it. I was like, what's this then? And he knows your way to the front, and it wasn't what everybody thinks I'm going to say. It definitely wasn't Space Marines. It was a homemade version of Blood Bowl, right? So, yeah, I can see Matt's face now. What?
Just the home version is what I'm interested in. That's why.
Yeah. So we were 9-year-olds. You didn't have money, but this guy had played Blood Bowl with some of his cousins who were a little bit older, and he'd gone away and decided I can make my own version of that. So he'd made a paper pitch and marked it out, and he had some models for it, and he was running people through the basics of it, and I was like, well, this is interesting. And but as in like 9, he's young to be saying that. There was no, I've never seen anything like it in my life. You know, everybody has a story, right? But I've never seen anything like it. There was a game on it would be an Amiga, but it was something else. That era of computer, yeah, possibly an Amstrad, called Chaos Bowl, and it was basically Blood Bowl. Back in the days, it was pretty pixelated. And I remember standing around watching this game Blood Bowl, and then at some point also playing that, and I was like, oh, that's familiar, okay. And from there, a gang, 4 or 5 of these kids, me involved, said, oh, we're gonna get into this Warhammer, and I started with Warhammer Fantasy, like probably one of the only people in the country who started with Warhammer Fantasy and not Space Marines. And we went round a group of people, and they'd already picked the races that they were gonna, the factions that they were gonna play. And I got there was like 3 or 4 options left for me, and one of them was Skaven. So my first purchase was about a £5 box of Skaven clan rats, the monopose ones. Yeah.
Oh man, as you
Yeah.
said £5, I was like, old.
Old. Oh yeah. It
Old.
would have been like 93, 90, maybe 95ish.
95
Yeah.
Blood Angel Space Hulk was coming out around then, wasn't it? 95.
Yes, it would have been possibly. I think I would have missed it, but so don't let this spiral. But there was a game shop in my hometown called Arcade Games. The reason I said don't let this spiral is because I'm from Southport, but we're not going there right now. Yeah, there used to be a game called a shop called Arcade Games in Southport. So a couple of weekends later, I convinced my mum and dad, went down there, bought a £5 box of Skaven, brought them back, started painting them with the acrylic, with the enamels that I owned from doing airfix kits, right? And then from there, I have never stopped. You know, people always say about the break. Nope, not me. Since then to now, more or less 30 years, I've just painted, played, gamed. Not every war game under the sun, but certainly a lot of them. It's just a part of who I am now at this point. It's not stopping. It's definitely not a teenage phase, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, like you said, it's now just like it's my safe space of an evening, like to get away from the thing. And like all my best friends are from gaming, whether or not they still game or not. Some of them do, some of them don't. We all moved away. At one point, we were like one of the guys moved to Canada just before lockdown. So we ended up playing D&D across Roll20 to keep in contact with him throughout lockdown. Poor guy was stuck in a flat in Vancouver at 46 degrees. And yeah, like I said, I've played all sorts of stuff. And I don't have any intention of stopping. You see, that's pretty much who I am. Like, I think I'm a reasonable painter. I don't think I'm nowhere near the best, but I can paint. I've been to Golden Demon once. I came away with 3 pins out of 4 entries. That's as far as I got. Not a particularly competitive gamer. I went through a phase of being a very competitive gamer, but not GW games. And I think, like most people, the thing that draws you to GW stuff is the lore, right? For years and years and years, we've all read about these characters that we know and love. Like, you know, we can just name them all. We know them all. We've been there for that long. I think it's brilliant. There's not a hobby like it in the world. I don't think there ever will be. They're like, Games Workshop are a weirdly niche success, aren't they?
It's
but
really odd because like when like the whole Brexit thing was kicking off and the fish were kicking off about Brexit, turns out GW actually is more important for GDP than the fish. That's how much Games Workshop made. Like it's unbelievable the success that they are nowadays. It's fantastic. Like
Ultramarines are our biggest export at this point, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're everywhere. Well,
especially to Japan. Space Marines were a huge hit in Japan.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry, man.
I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised at that.
Because they were like, oh, we'll make the Tau because that'll nail the Japanese market. The Japanese don't do any more fucking Gundams, mate.
No, that's the point.
But when they were like, Space Marines, more,
Yeah.
which is why all the Space Marine collector kits, they all come out in Japan.
Yeah.
And you struggle to get them in the UK because they're all over there because,
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like how little bits like that go onto it. But I mean, we were trying to find out years ago because Blood Angels were the actual face of GW like early on, and then it switched to Ultramarines. But no one seems to know why. Like I'd asked, I think it was Nick Bater said that they had a look at why. They don't know. Just someone just really liked Ultramarines at that time, so they just went with Ultramarines, and that was that.
would it be something really simple like blue paint was cheaper than red paint?
I don't know.
Because some companies do that. They go, well, actually, we're not having all these blue guys now.
One of the things that I
negative.
One of the things that I found fascinating about probably the last maybe 12 to 18 months is that whether or not something in all the old GW employees' contracts has finally run out of date or something, but a lot of the old faces from like the days of the Warhammer World's conception, like the guys who were in Nottingham doing this stuff in the 80s and 90s, suddenly have started appearing on a lot of YouTube channels or writing blogs, or the stories being told. Like there's a couple of great books that have come out. I don't know if anybody's read either Dice Men or Talking Miniatures, and all of a sudden the story of how Games Workshop came to be is out in the open. And back in the day, like I'm probably one of the, I don't know about you guys, but I can remember life before the internet existed, just about. And I will be the last generation of people who can. And back then in the 90s, early 2000s, even, I know the internet was around then, but not in the way that it is now. GW were a closed book. They didn't talk to the fans. They only did that at games days. But if you didn't go to the games day, they were a closed book. They didn't, other than the odd letter that you might write in or whatever. They had White Dwarf, and that was it. And that was the communication between you and them. So you only